I was signing yesterday, Rico from StreetScores, and practice is starting up now. Like, they're going around stretching and everything like that. But I wanted to give y'all a few important updates before I do my training camp practice breakdown, like of the entire joint practice, going position group by position group like I do. I wanted to go ahead and give y'all a big time injury update. I wanted to let y'all know who's playing a lot in this joint practice and who's playing a lot in the preseason game, because those are two completely different things. But before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for staying tuned. Man, I'm super excited, man. We're in the full swing of things now. We got joint practice going on preseason in a couple of days. I will be live streaming now, all 4 quarters and all of that. So stay tuned. Without further ado, let's go dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, some preseason game info and some heads up from Dan Quinn. First of all, Dan Quinn said that those who will play a lot today will not play at all on Friday, from what it sounds. Translation, no starters will play Friday. It'll be the Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman show at quarterback for pretty much most of the preseason. And Dan Quinn even said the goal this week is to maximize the number of legit evaluations. So play a certain group of people a lot at one moment and then play the other certain group of people a lot in a different moment. That way everybody gets to maximize their reps. I do feel like that is the best way towards achieving maximum efficiency. I definitely agree with that, where one group plays a lot at a certain moment and they get to go through everything. You get to go through fatigue, you get to go through, deplete your stamina, you get to go through a lot of different situations where you may make a mistake, you're able to fix it later on, and that's going to be meaningful reps against another team rather than practicing against your usual selves like we've been doing all off season up to this point. So I feel like that is the best strategy for that. And so, of course, in other words, expect the starters to play a bunch today in this joint practice, but not in the preseason game. And again, the opposite for the backups and the depth. But apparently, though, the Patriots will be playing their starters in the preseason game as well. They're going to play their starters in this joint practice and in that preseason game. So that's going to be invaluable reps and experience for our backups, man. The second stringers, the third stringers. I am really intrigued by that. Thank you, Patriots, for that lob right there, because that could be meaningful reps for a lot of these backups, or not even necessarily backups, younger guys. Rookies coming in. You don't, except outside of Tre'Davious Amos, we don't just expect those guys to come in and start immediately day one. I think Josh Connolly will turn into a starter by week 1, but right now Tre'Davious Amos is our only starter out of our rookie class right now. And so those guys getting the chance to go against a starting unit of an opposing team, I think that's going to be so meaningful, because that could be the next step that catapults Josh Connolly into the starting role, where he goes against another team's edge rusher group, even though Dietrich Wise just came from the Patriots and now he's here. So it's kind of like he's getting a little bit of that. But now he gets to go against another edge rusher group to see a different style and nuance to how those edge rushers get after him and go to the quarterback, try to get past them to get into the backfield to the running back and things like that. So that'll be like another test, another hurdle that he gets to conquer, and I think that will only make him better. And maybe, this joint practice going against another team starters and guys like Josh Connolly look really good, and it's like, oh, okay, this guy should be starting. The only reason he looks like he's on and off, he's hot and cold at times in our practices, because our edge rushers are just that good. And so when we're going against other teams, maybe he is ready to actually start. It just looks a little different when he practices against Dietrich Wise and Von Miller and Dorrance Armstrong all day, every day. And, hey, man, I ain't gonna lie. Don't let our backups go out there and start balling against their starters in that preseason game, man. Don't let that happen. But I'm mostly looking at how much, like, Jalen Lane and Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt, they play in the first preseason game. Because if they don't play much, or, say, best case scenario, they play none at all, that should tell you everything you need to know about the plans they have for those guys. I mean, Tre'Davious Amos, again, is already a starter. So I know he's not playing at all on Friday in that preseason game. I'm curious about Josh Connolly, though, and I'm sure Kane Medrano is going to play a lot on Friday. I'm going to let you know that right now. But Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt and Bill, those are definitely two guys where you got to look at their snap counts and their reps that they get in that preseason game, because we may already start moving towards the Terry McLaurin rookie season strategy that Jay Gruden deployed, where it's like, hey, man, I know he's a rookie. I know he's not even necessarily a first rounder or anything like that, but we're going to hold him back a little bit when it comes to this preseason stuff, because we already know what we got. We're trying to protect him from injury, and we also want to hide him from the rest of the NFL and be able to hit him with this force, this unforeseen force that people are not expecting. And then he's just this really good player that's like, whoa, what just happened? Where did he come from? And, we don't want to put out that much tape of his talent and potential to everybody to see in the preseason game, when even like casual viewers can see it, let alone our opponents that we have on our regular season schedule, especially like early on in the schedule. Because, eventually, if, say, best case scenario, somehow, some way, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt is already so good that he's getting a lot of the snaps in week one. Not even necessarily a starter, but he's part of a heavy rotation along with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler to where it's like almost equal how many snaps each of those guys are getting. If it's to that level, by week 8, our opponents are going to know, oh, okay, this Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt guy is serious. Like, he's a guy that's going to be a heavy part of the offense. But outside of that, man, maybe we can try to find a way to hide these guys, at least in the preseason, and then we catch the first couple of opponents, like the Giants week 1, for example. Or maybe even like the Raiders. I think we played them week 3 or something like that. Maybe we can catch a couple of those guys off. So we'll see, man. We got the Giants, then the Packers, then the Raiders, then them sorry little Falcons. Maybe those first 4 teams, we can, Jalen Lane and Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt can catch those guys off guard, but I don't really expect, even if they are like impactful players and we withhold them from the preseason, I don't expect it to extend beyond that as far as catching people by surprise, man. You're already seeing Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt memes going around on the internet right now. You had Ian Hartitz, he pulled up that picture saying, this is Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt in training camp so far. I remember this, man, like the contact balance, the durability, the agility, the acceleration, raw power, receiving ability, vision. I remember this, man. I remember seeing this somewhere. I thought this is hilarious. The fact that people, this is not even a Commanders fan saying this about Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt. So the cats are probably already out the bag. But also moving on, it'll be Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman that will play in that preseason game. And that is a battle for third place. Marcus Mariota is dealing with like some sort of lower leg injury that Dan Quinn says apparently isn't that bad. We're going to dive into that soon when we talk about the injury update as well, because that's the second half of this video. So, and Jaden, like we said, the starters are not playing. So it will be Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman the entire Friday preseason game. And yeah, man, I don't want to see Jaden Daniels at all in the preseason. Maybe against the Bengals. But I'm not even sure about that. If Jaden didn't play a single snap this entire preseason, I'd be just fine. I want to see him as soon as possible. I want to see some Jaden Daniels style football, but it's not worth it, bro. And he's one of the very few guys that I don't worry at all about him getting off to a hot start, slow start, whatever, to start week 1 or anything like that, just because he didn't play in the preseason. He's been dropping bombs and has been accurate from literally play 1, throw 1. The first play of team drills of this entire training camp, day 1, play 1, deep bomb touchdown to Deebo Samuel. That guy is ready. He's so locked in. He's pulling up to practice at like 4 a.m. when it's still dark outside. It's only him and Cliff Kingsbury working on things before anybody else shows up by like 6 or 7. Like, he's that locked in. He's that dialed in. I'm not worried about him at all. I don't think he needs those reps. The only reason that I could kind of see you playing Jaden Daniels in the preseason is so that he can have valuable experience going against an opposing defense when it comes to gaining chemistry with like the new receivers on the team. Jalen Lane's a rookie. Deebo Samuel, you just traded for him. He hasn't actually played an NFL game with Deebo Samuel yet. It looks like their chemistry is already ridiculous, but maybe they want to fine tune that a little bit. So who knows? It's all kind of things going on as far as like, maybe Jaden Daniels wants to keep practicing with the offensive line that's in front of him that's a little different. Like Larry Thompson's a new piece at the left tackle position, or maybe handoffs and throwing passes to Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt as a running back, because he will be a big part of our offense very early on. Who knows? Now, little things like that. But Jaden Daniels himself, him being ready, I'm not worried about that at all. And I think he'll get enough reps in these joint practices, enough meaningful reps against opposing defenses and those to where he doesn't even need to play in the preseason game, which is why these joint practices are so important, because those preseason games have a tendency to lead to more injuries. You're more injury prone in those preseason games than you are in these joint practices. The joint practices seem to be a little bit more controlled. Like they're only running certain plays. They're only doing things a certain way to avoid injuries. Like the whole purpose is let's not fight. Let's not get hurt. Let's just keep things cool. We're working on certain things. Like maybe we'll work on red zone situations right here. Like Dan Quinn and Mike Vrabel have already probably gone over like, okay, for this part of practice, for this amount of time, we're going to do red zone drills, or we're going to do 2-minute offense and things like that. You know, my offense versus your defense, your offense versus my defense, you know, just things like that. When we get to the preseason, it's the bright lights. A lot of those backups that it's like go big or go home on the bubble of the roster are like, man, I gotta do what it takes to make this team. I'm trying to feed my family, and they're going out there and playing at 110%, all gas, no brakes, and that can lead to injuries for not only the player that's doing that, but also the people that they're going against. You have some guy that's just going through the motion, running his routes, and then you have a DB that's out there fighting for his life. He could end up injuring that wide. It's just a different environment. That stuff does not fly at all in joint practice, but it's anybody's ball game, anybody's season in that preseason game. So I definitely see why you withhold a lot of the starters, if anything, all of the starters. They may even withhold some of the secondary guys, like a couple of the second stringers that are going to play almost to the level of starters, and just make sure they're in a refrigerator, they're on ice, they have bubble wrap, because we don't want those guys getting hurt either. Even if you're not technically like a week 1 snap 1 starter, but we plan on having you play a lot, guys like Jordan McGee or maybe even Ben Sinnott, who knows, then they probably will not be playing a lot in the preseason game, even if they do. And Dan Quinn even addressed that shift in thinking as far as Jaden Daniels playing a lot in the preseason versus now where they don't want him to probably even play at all. He said that the shift in wanting to see Jaden Daniels in the preseason last year versus this year has definitely shifted, and he said that the QB will get a lot of reps in the joint practice today. Now moving on to injuries, and 7 players did not travel to Foxborough at all. Like they did not even pull up to New England. Samuel Cosmi and Terry McLaurin, of course, both of those guys on the PUP list. Samuel Cosmi, we're still having debates about whether or not he'll be ready by week 1. Terry McLaurin still has not signed his contract extension and apparently has an ankle injury that I don't necessarily believe in. That's actually true, but it is what it is. But then you have the real injuries, the guys that are not there because they are actually for real hurt. Wide receiver Noah Brown, starting left guard Brandon Coleman, backup quarterback Marcus Mariota, linebacker Jordan McGee, and defensive end John Baptiste. And Dan Quinn said that Marcus Mariota is apparently dealing with a lower leg issue, and it's like a strain or something like that. And for Noah Brown, it's about taking it slow after his spring knee injury, so they're still kind of ramping him up. They don't want to expose him too much until we get to the regular season. And he said that none of the injured guys have anything serious, but at the same time, I'm still looking at all of those other guys like, what's going on, man? I'm tired of seeing some of these names as reoccurring names on injury lists, especially in the offseason, man, and especially leading into the regular season. I mean, I know that he says all of those other injuries aren't serious in any way, but one, he could just be straight up lying to us. I mean, just like how they told us Jaden Daniels' ribs were bruised last season, and then he just came out and confirmed a couple of days ago alongside Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley that, it was broken. You know what I'm saying? So Dan Quinn and those guys lied straight up to us all the time about injuries and downplay them. And then also, too, I'm just sick of seeing some of these second-year guys that's always just seem to be banged up in some sort of way. Now, Brandon Coleman was constantly hurt in the offseason, and that was annoying. But when we actually got to the regular season and postseason, he was healthy for the most part, and he was usually there. But Jordan McGee, you got to get it together, man. He is such an important part of our defense. We need him healthy. And then John Baptiste just makes it look like, man, this 2024 draft class is just overall injury prone, man. It just seems to be some sort of an injury problem. Remember, Johnny Newton was drafted hurt last year, and it made the class look extra hurt last year, even though he pulled up already hurt. So it's kind of hard to blame him in this situation that we're talking about. But honestly, Jaden Daniels and Sanford still seem to be the only two and they also happen to be the best 2 players from the entire class, but they seem to be the only 2 that's like usually dependable and healthy, or at least healthy enough to go out there and play in games. And then also, before we go, I do want to remind you that in this joint practice, you're going to see Antonio Gibson and Morgan Moses as familiar faces. But that's all I got for y'all, man. That's the end of this video. Please make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned. It's probably the shortest video I've done in months, but I just wanted to give y'all that quick update because you know me, man. That breakdown of what goes down in practice when I'm showing y'all the clips of what's going on and we're breaking down every position group and everything like that, that's going to be probably almost an hour long like my training camp practice video breakdowns typically are, but this is a joint practice, so there's a lot more that's going to be interesting to take away from the practices. You know, no more are we going to be saying, well, you know, it's no pads, it's no contact, or we're going against the same guys every day in practice. So what do you know? Now we're going against a really good measuring stick. Now, granted, it's not the Ravens level of measuring stick where they're like an elite team, a playoff team, but still, if we can go out there against the Patriots and dominate them in this joint practice and show like, okay, we're the elites and they're not yet. You know, they spent all of that money in free agency, but maybe they're just not ready. So there's a lot to take away from this. That video is probably going to be like an hour long. I mean, I've been doing hour-long ones for regular training camp practices. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends up being the longest one I've done all off season. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I will have that out after the joint practice ends. Really appreciate y'all for making it this far in the video. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. Salute to y'all, and I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.